How you doing? I am in my feelings today. I am so, all of my emotions is on 1,000 today. The sun is out. I am happy. I'm loving it. Y'all know how I get when the sun get out. And today is Freaky Friday. Unfortunately, we ain't talking about the freakiness of that we typically talk about. Today, we have an amazing guest. She is the mayor of Framingham. And yes, I said she. And she's a Black woman. So we are having a conversation with an amazing Black woman at 12 o'clock for Freaky Friday. And unfortunately, that is kind of freaky because we don't see no Black woman running nothing in the United States of America. And so as far as news you should know is concerned, and then we're going to go ahead and switch to another StreamYard so we can have her in the building with us. The FDA will decide whether to fully approve Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine by January 2022. I want you to be very clear that if you have to decide to fully approve a vaccine, that means it's not approved, right? Right? Going back to the conversations that we've had, how many, for those who do not know, we have been censored over and over again on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. The censorship is real, and our censorship came on the heels of posting that the vaccine was not approved by FDA. And so technically, the vaccine was not approved by the FDA. What it was emergency use approval only. And so the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, aka the FDA's goal was to get enough data to decide on whether or not they're going to fully approve of the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for ages 16 and older. As soon as January 2022. So they need more of you to go out and get the vaccine so they can have more research and numbers so they can figure out whether or not they're going to fully approve it. Because as of right now, it is not. If approved, it will be the first fully approved coronavirus vaccine in America. Currently, the vaccine is only authorized for emergency use in American-aged individuals 12 and up. For emergency use. So I just want to be clear, there's no way that we were against all of these policies if we said that it was not fully approved by the FDA and we were censored and taken down and had Facebook put us on timeout, YouTube put us on timeout, and Instagram put us on timeout because I kept on saying that it wasn't approved by the FDA. And now they are figuring out by January 22 whether they are going to fully approve it, because right now it's only for authorized as emergency use. LA reinstates indoor mask mandates for everyone. Again, even if you are vaccinated, the Delta variant is up 70% in cases right now. Good rising, Mike. Finally, Friday. Hey. And so LA County is reinstating its indoor mask order for everyone, regardless of vaccination status, a month after California just dropped the mask mandates. Cases have risen from 400 per day to 1,000 per day, and hospitalizations have risen from 200 to 1,000 a day. This is despite the 69.4% of residents aged 16 and older receiving at least one shot and 61% being fully vaccinated. The health official for the county of LA, Dr. Mantu Davis, said that the order will go into effect at 11:59 on Saturday during a press conference on Thursday, which means first thing Sunday a.m., everybody has to be masked up indoors, period. Health officials blame the spread of the Indian Delta variant, which makes up 70% of all current cases. And so this is the news that you should know. I am TaylaAndre. Waking Up with TaylaAndre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. And all that means is we are going to talk about the news that nobody else wants to talk about, that mainstream media ain't finna tell you, and that normal conversations are not being had amongst your peer group. And the reason why is because we have a circulation of media that is controlled by 6 individuals in this world. 6 people control everything that you see on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these ads, everything. Unless you're on a TikTok or unless you're on a social media site and it's someone reporting it to you, someone reporting it to you, you really don't know unless this is the type of stuff that you actually look for. So I want to give a huge shout out to all aces, because we get 90% of our information straight from them in their racial equity news. And so a lot of this is coming from a Black lens or from a biopic. Black. If you have melanin, you're Black. I don't care how you identify. That's how I identify you. You are a melanated creature, regardless of origin of birth. A sailor makes history to become the Navy's first female special operator. 2021, the first female special operator after completing a gruesome 37-week special warfare training. The woman, who has not been identified due to military policy for special force members, is officially a naval special warfare combat craft crewman. The SWCC operator transporter Navy SEALs and conduct their own classified missions at sea and are experts with all weapons, navigation, and special operation tactics. The sailor is the first of 18 women who have tried out for the job as a SWCC or a SEAL to succeed just 5 years after all combat posts were open to women. And so 5 years ago, they just opened it all up to women. After 5 years, there were 18 women who have tried for the job. She is the first to get it. Only about 35% of the men and women who begin training for dyslexia is real. SWCC actually graduate. 35% are the ones that actually graduate. 37-week training course includes extensive running, swimming, and other exercises conducted in all weather conditions with very little sleep. About 300 sailors attempted the SWCC courses every year, and about 70 completed. There were between 760 and 800 on the force at any one time. And so, listen, I am so cranky when I don't get enough sleep. So I can't imagine being cranky and hungry and it's raining. Like I don't think I would be able to be one of the ones to have survived. Because I'm a survivor. Like I don't think I could do it. Do you think you could do it on sleep? No sleep, 24 hours. Somebody tell you to get up and run a mile. Can you do it? Yes or no? Would you be able to do it? Run a mile. I want you to run a mile in the wet, cold rain. I want you to run a mile in the snow. I want you to swim this 1.5 miles. You ain't got no sleep for 36 hours. I don't care. Do this task. But when you are in enemy fire or when you are in the hands of the enemy, we are masters at, what is it called when you torture? We are masters of torture. We have taken everything from the ancient times and have mastered them to today. And so to what we put our soldiers through is nothing more than, I know, Mike, me too. I know they say sleep is the cousin of death, but my ass need to die. If that's the case, I need my sleep. That's when God speaks to me the most. NASA successfully performs a very risky maneuver to switch the Hubble back to a backup computer that has not been powered on since it was installed in 2009. And so NASA successfully switched the Hubble Space Telescope to its backup computer, which could allow it to resume all full operations soon. The switch involved bringing the backup power control unit online. Other components, including the backup command unit, the science data formatter, and the command and data handling unit, were also brought online. Other hardware pieces on the Hubble were also switched to alternative interfaces. The backup computer was then turned on and normal operation mode started. The backup computer has not been powered since 2009. As we know, there has been some trouble in space And so for me, these are super important because what is happening in outer space is huge. The fact that we have so many countries that are racing against time to beat each other out, to figure out how do we maintain stability in outer space. We have Whitey on the moon that is spending millions and billions of dollars to race each other to see who can hit 0-point gravity, when, thank you to Janet, we know you can spend $5,000 for, what is it? It's like $2,000 for 5 hours or something to that effect, and hit 0-point gravity. And so there's something that we're not being told, and this has nothing to do with like conspiracy theory, nothing. We're not being told something. Why are we so ready, set, go, leaving Earth? What is it in outer space that we want? We can't even breathe out there. What the hell are we racing to get there for? We know that there's no exoplanets close enough to Earth for us to live on. So what is the real reason? Give me a reason, because I don't understand why we're spending so much time, money, and fortitude to beat out other countries to go and get where and for what. I recently was, I think I posted it on my Instagram. I was taking a look at all of the satellites that around the Earth, and little do we know, there's like 37,000 different satellites just orbiting around Earth, and it's space trash. I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but as much trash that we have in the ocean, strangling the food that we eat, we have just as much equal trash in space. And so when I was younger and a little bit more naive than I currently am, I always wondered, like, if that's the case, why don't we just send all of the trash into space, or like put it on a rocket and send it to the sun? Like, wouldn't it be better for Earth to do that? We're spending all this money to ship shit out of space anyway, so why don't we just fill this whole something ton machine with all of the trash that we have and have it directioned towards the sun, and it will disintegrate before it even gets to the sun? Nobody thinks about stuff like that. Like, there's options. I want to shout out Forbidden Knowledge. I've been following Forbidden Knowledge for over 10 years now on all social media platforms, and he is absolutely amazing in his nerdery. And so he talks about, if we were to take out all of the space out of the trash, that all of the trash around the world could literally fit in the palm of your hand. And so if you do not, please follow him. We interviewed him once prior to like the recording situation that we currently have. And so I don't even have proof that I interviewed him. And I have been for the last 6 years trying to get him back on air, but everything that he touches is amazing. And to watch him on Gaia TV, that's where you can find a lot of his work, is on Gaia. You can also look him up on YouTube, Forbidden Knowledge. Yo, a wealth of effing knowledge that will blow your mind. He takes conspiracy theories and puts the science behind it and shows you how it's not a conspiracy, but a fact. And so Forbidden Knowledge with a number 4. Biden says that he is considering U.S. intervention on Cuba to restore internet access during the widespread blackouts after Ron DeSantis suggested using a giant balloon as Wi-Fi hotspots. And so this was actually something that Facebook was mentioning regarding Africa. And so if I remember this correctly, and I could be wrong, I've read a story probably about like 4 or 5 years ago about how Facebook wanted to create these hot air balloon-ish type hotspots and have multiple all over different African countries. So it could, instead of trying to like dig in the ground and put up wires, it would be the most economical and most sustainable way for those who currently don't have internet access to get access. And so Joe Biden said that he is considering ways to restore internet access to people in Cuba after the government disabled it. They've cut off access to the internet. They've also cut off access to electricity. They are fining, and if you do not pay the fine, you are ended up jailed for simple infractions such as wearing shorts in this that is an American flag, waving an American flag, demanding justice. If you are a leader of the protest or advocating for the protest and for your freedom, your doors are kicked in and you are arrested. Funds, money that have been coming back from the United States. So family members, we have 7 minutes. Family members that are sending money to Cubans in Cuba, and the Cubans are putting the money in the bank. The government took the money out of the bank. And so they have no access to their money. As far as we spoke with Uncle Timmy earlier this week, he was just like, they get $20 allowance for the month. People are getting fines for an American flag upwards to $150. And if you do not pay that in this moment of time, you get jailed for it. Again, your allowance is $20 a month in order for you to do everything you need to do and to buy the food that you need. But you're being fined 5 times more than what you get per month for simple infractions. And so Queen Yanazdaha, we've interviewed her about Native American rights, has a GoFundMe. So you can go ahead and put some money on basically the books of the people who are being arrested for simple infractions. And so I say all that to say, if you do have any monies to spare, please check her out on Instagram. And it's Queen Yo, Y-O, Naz, Nasdah. Queen Yanazdaha. And so the NFL announced that they will play the Black National Anthem before every Star Spangled Banner during every Week 1 game, and players may feature names of police brutality victims on their helmets. And so this is huge. First and foremost, when they went from kicking Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL for kneeling and saying he's not good enough, he's a subpar player, we don't even need him, to fining players for taking a knee, to all of a sudden saying now we're going to play Lift Every Voice and sing, which is also known as the Black National Anthem, at the start of each game during Week 1 of the 2021 season. The anthem will be performed before the Star Spangled Banner. It will be rolled out during the season opener on September 10th when the Kansas City Chiefs host the Houston Texans. The NFL is in collaboration with the NFL Players Association, is also considering featuring names of police brutality victims on the uniforms and or helmets of the players. The league aims to demonstrate genuine commitment to the public. Players and coaches and the player voices continue to be heard. In June, the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, he's been the commissioner since, what was the movie with Pet Detective? Ace of Spades, no. Detective Ace, Pet Detective, oh my God, what is the name of the movie? You know what I'm talking about, with Fire Marshal Bill. Why can't the Jim Carrey? So when Jim Carrey was the Pet Detective and they were talking about Roger Goodell in, what was that, in 1991? He's been the commissioner for a really long time. He admitted that the league was wrong in how it approached the NFL players protesting police brutality and systematic racism. The league also released plans to increase the social justice footprint by pledging to donate $250 million over a 10-year period. That's absolutely batshit crazy, because if we have 3 minutes before Yvonne Spice is logged in. So really quickly, I want to profit NFL. And for those who don't know, the NFL is a non-effing profit. How How the F? Citing a source, the publication said revenues in 2020 totaled $12 billion, down from the $16 billion in 2019, which is a 25% drop. Revenues have been projected to reach $16.5 billion in 2021. So you telling me first and foremost that the NFL in 2019 made $16 billion. In 2020 made $12 billion, but they plan to donate $250 million over the next 10 years. Go kick rocks. Kick rocks all day. And so it sounds great, right? It sounds amazing. $250 million over a 10-year period. But when you make $12 billion, tell me what they ain't even a drop in a bucket. That's chump change given to the bum on the street. So thanks, but no thanks. You want to show real commitment? Show me that $1 billion given to young players. Let me see you give to Pop Warner. Because Pop Warner, these kids got to pay $250 every single time, every season to play football. And then they got to do equipment and cleats and this and that. And then don't even talk about actually going on trips and having to play other cities and other towns and parents that can't actually come and watch their kid because they don't have a motor transportation. So if we're going to talk about it, let's really talk about it, because the NFL, even if it was $4 billion and y'all are like, oh, over the next 10 years, 250, that's still nothing. It is 11:59, and from what I heard, Yvonne is on time. Exactly, pennies to what they ranking. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Thank you, Mike Nice. I appreciate that. So we're gonna go ahead and end this live. For those that are listening online, or you went ahead and downloaded the app, we're gonna go ahead and play some commercials, pay these bills, play a little music, and if you are on YouTube, Instagram, y'all can stay. Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, Stitched. We'll be right back. Come and tune in on the next link. Tell me how you want it. Yeah. Call me and I'm on my way. She's not here yet. Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone. This vaccine is one. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and disease. Hey Siri. Oh, never mind.
I'm here.
We'll be right back.
Interesting question.
Hey Siri. Call 202-704-7424.
Sorry, I'm not able to make a phone call at this time, but you can ask me to place a FaceTime call.
Hi, may I speak to Ryan? Hi, Ryan. This is TaylaAndre. How are you? I am well. I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that, first of all, I want to apologize because this is the first time I've received a document that needed to be signed in the way in which the Section 889 asked me to sign. And so if you could, the original document that you send Dr. Martin, if you could update that, because the Adobe won't let me make any alterations to the one that you just resent me because it's already signed. So the one you sent on Monday, July 12th to Dr. Martin? If you could resend me that one with the current changes that you made to the one you sent me today. Correct. It's signed in my name though. I thought it says, can you please have Dr. Martin sign the updated version? So that's okay. Vendor signature? Okay. 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 And that's fine. That's on the first page, that signature is the only thing that needs to be signed. Okay. All right. I just went ahead and signed that and we'll get that over to you. I just wanted to confirm that the 889 signed by me was acceptable. Okay. And I, with all due respect, I just want to like anything you send Dr. Martin, she will not read until weeks later. So if there's anything that needs to be signed or anything regarding invoicing or documents, if you could get that over to me, I will I'll take care of it immediately. But she doesn't even check her email. So yes. So if there's anything that you need, feel free to reach out. This is my direct line. Okay. And I did see in the document that it covered a little bit as far as how invoicing needs to be taken care of. Is that your department or will I be speaking to someone else regarding invoicing? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Have a wonderful day. All right. Bye-bye. Good afternoon. No, ma'am. We are doing a StreamYard, which is also like a Zoom type situation. No worries. Mm-hmm. 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 It should be on the calendar invite. It's all the way at the top. All the way at the so the additional notes. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then if you call us on your phone, it just gives us a more seamless audio than using your computer. Yes, ma'am. All right. If you call the number, the 617-727-3387, and put it on speakerphone, or if you have earpiece or earpods. No, so you'll call the studio number. This is my direct line. So you'll call the studio number. There you are. We see you. And she's beautiful with her gloves on. Okay. So that's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. So I just sent you a number to your text message. If you just click that number, it'll have you call into the studio. Okay. There we go. Good rising. How are you all? How are you? And so We are just now coming off of a commercial break, making sure we pay those bills. But now we are live with the most amazing, and if you've ever been in her presence, you will know that I am not just gassing her up. Her spirit is beautiful, and I enjoy when she opens her mouth and speaks. She speaks the truth. She's unapologetic. And so the mayor of Framingham, and I just recently learned it is Dr. Yvonne. So please, I know we can't actually have an applause, but like round of applause for you. Please tell us a little, like prior to you becoming the mayor of Framingham, can we rewind it all the way back to like your education, who you are, what it is that you stand for, and what prompted you to even want to run? Oh, if you mute your computer, that's what it is.
Now, here. And when I think about where I grew up in a predominantly African American Puerto Rican neighborhood, and in a family that valued education and always knew that education and created opportunities for you. And so, the things that I grew up with is understanding the value of engagement and involvement, because my mother was definitely quite involved in our community. She worked the polls, and she always instilled in all of us that, voting is your right. That is your opportunity to have a voice. And if you don't vote, then you don't deserve the right to have a complaint. So part of that is thinking about my experience of having this involvement in understanding politics with my mother and how we get the notion of voting. But I think the more pivotal thing that happened early on in my life is the opportunity to meet a congresswoman. And I was 6 years old when I met this congresswoman, and I asked her, I said, what do Congress people do? And she said, we help people. That's my job, is to help children like you. And I had the good fortune of having a seed planted when I was 6 years old by my congresswoman, who was Shirley Chisholm.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, Shirley Chisholm was my congresswoman, and when I think about the legacy that she has left and the things that she did way before, quote unquote, her time, she laid the foundation. And so I also credit my parents with giving the message that there was nothing that I could not do. I never had limitations placed on me. And so, I pursued a career in what I love, which is technical things. And I have a background in technology and engineering, and which is, of course, something girls do not study. But I also felt that this is what was interesting to me. And, when I came to Framingham, I came here for a teaching job, and I wanted to get involved in the community, so I participated in some of the local community government committees and so forth. And so fast forward, when we decided to become a city, at the time I was a town meeting member, I was on the Ways and Means Committee, and when the vote was to become a city, a friend asked me, would you ever consider running for office? And I thought about this, everything that I was done over my professional career, being a teacher and administrator, starting, I was vice president of the Museum of Science before becoming mayor, and in a startup division, something that's never been done before, and traveling the world, working with legislators, working with educators, people in political office, all of those things culminating into me making the decision to run for this office. Clearly, I had not spent a career in politics, but I had spent a career in learning and leadership, and I knew that what I had learned and been able to achieve from my prior role, I could bring to the city of Framingham, and that was my goal. And so, with the help of thousands of people in this community, 9,128 to be exact, voted for me to become mayor of the city, which represented at that time 59% of the vote, which is what I won by as the first time candidate for such an office. And it was a history-making moment. Being the first mayor of the city of Framingham has been one of the greatest honors of my life. Despite some of the challenges we've had, particularly the last 15 months, I'm here and we're moving the needle for the city in a way that we could have never imagined despite some of the challenges. And so I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and this is a re-election year for me. So I do know that I'm going to get back in here and try to keep this seat and fight to do that. And I feel my city is on the move, and I'm looking forward to continue leading it.
Mm-hmm. So you said the first mayor of Framingham. Can you break that down for us a little bit? Because here in Boston, we don't understand how is it the first time that they now have a mayor? How does that work? And what was going on prior to them not having a mayor?
Well, for 317 years, Framingham was a town. And this was not the first time we had tried to achieve becoming a city through a home rule charter change. I think it's probably about a third or fourth time trying to do it, and it was put on the ballot, and the voters voted whether we wanted to become a city, and it passed by 112 votes in 2017. And at that time, the charter called for having a mayor, 11 city councilors, 9 school committee members. So we all had to run for office. And so what people don't understand is that when you become a city, there's a whole other level of responsibilities, but also opportunities. I mean, certain funding that cities were eligible for, we were now eligible for. Prior to that, we were a very large town, which was very cumbersome in terms of governance. With over 200 town meeting members, there were 200 people having to make a decision on how we were to move forward as a city, and that met like twice a year. And so the consistency, and since being mayor, I mean, oftentimes there's initiatives that come forth, and I can act on them fairly quickly as the mayor. Sometimes with the approval of city council, sometimes I have the ability to approve things and keep moving forward. It has made things wonderful for Framingham in the sense that, it broadened our cachet, especially on the national front because of my prior experience being in the spotlight nationally. To be the first mayor of a city, it's kind of daunting. I'm actually the first African-American woman ever popularly elected to be mayor in the state of Massachusetts.
Hold on, wait. Yeah, I need you to repeat that. Go all the way back and repeat that for those in the back that didn't hear.
I am the first African-American woman ever popularly elected by the people. That is, people go to the ballot and vote, because there are other ways in which mayors have been appointed by the council. I have been elected by the people, and I am the very first in the state of Massachusetts to be elected mayor. So that is the honor that I have, and I maintain, and we shall see what happens in my great city of Boston. But I also know that Mayor Katie, she is doing a great job here, and being the first African American woman ever elected mayor in Boston.
Mm.
So I know she's in the midst of the election now.
So let's talk a little bit about what mayors do, because I think we have a misconception on what it is a mayor actually does and the responsibility and role that a mayor plays. And so can you talk a little bit about, for you in your position of Framingham, what do you have the ability to change, and what are the things that people think you can change that has absolutely nothing to do with your job description?
Well, the interesting thing about being the mayor is that no matter what happens in your city, you're responsible for it, and you own it, whether it happened before your time or not, you still own it. And I think for me, being the mayor, you are the chief executive officer officer of your community. You are also the leader and the, in terms of being a role model. And my doctorate is actually in leadership. And so, and part of that is understanding the multiple dimensions of leadership. Whether it's a moral leader, whether it's a spiritual leader, whether it's a leader of operations. Those are the different hats that you get to wear. And as I said to you before, one of the greatest things that I've done that helped me in this position is being a classroom teacher. This is something, a large part of the skill that we use is listening to people, understanding, knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to collaborate, get other people in to help you do projects. These are all of the things that I get to do on a daily basis. And when we think about the limitations of the mayor, everything is dictated by the charter in terms of the scope of what you can do, what you need the council approval, and oftentimes you do need the council approval, working with the council, what is within your purview, the day-to-day operations of city government is my responsibility. And that is something that has gone, that has been going on for the last 3.5 years. Crisis management, as you can imagine with our pandemic, being the mayor of the city, I had the responsibility of not only managing our resources, but also managing operations to mitigate the situation with COVID, and working closely with other leaders, from other communities, which I did quite a bit. And part of that process was coming up with those best solutions that are going to work for my community. And I'm happy to report a lot of that has worked out very well, where 65% of the people in Framingham have been vaccinated. And we are on our way to herd immunity. I would say by the mid-July we should be there. So part of that, it makes me proud to be the mayor of the city accomplishments of our residents, whether it's our children, whether it's our veterans doing something wonderful. I get a chance to celebrate the excellence in my community. Supporting our small businesses, that's another thing that I try to make myself very much available to our business community, because they are the backbone of any community, and I make a point of making sure they understand how much I value them and how much I want to make sure they are able to be viable and stand back up after having a lot of downtime. And so those are the things, is being a champion for your community, being a great listener, managing our finances and managing very well. And Framingham is fiscally very healthy. I'm happy to report that. And making sure, and last but not least, certainly the people of our community, making sure they feel like they belong to this community. I made a point of making everyone that hires into the community. We are making a concerted effort to make sure that it's representative of our community by putting in some diversity and hiring standards around that, and making sure that when people are hired into the community, they feel supported. Same thing with boards and commissions, diversifying those boards and commissions to make sure everyone's voice gets heard. People and it's reflective of people throughout our entire community. And it's just very being intentional about disrupting things that haven't happened in the past, and ensuring that they do, that it is for the betterment of our entire community, and living up to what I said when I'm investing in people and demonstrating that on a regular basis.
Thank you for that. So it sounds like you may have a little bit more flexibility in what it is that you can do in Framingham than most mayors do. My question is, so you said that your degree is in engineering, and I've learned that engineers' brains work so much differently. The way you guys problem solve and how your systems are set up. So I feel like this is a great foundation for future mayors to walk into, because you're really putting a solid foundation down. What does it look like as far as systems are concerned? So given in comparison, and you can use any city that you want to use, but in comparison to other cities, how has your engineer background aided you in building this foundation in comparison to other cities that may not have had that type of foundation?
You know, I would look at the fact that and you hit it right on the nail, in fact, using my knowledge of engineering and problem solving is that, you have to think of a problem and look at the ways in which you come up with potential solutions for those problems. But you not only implement one solution at a time, so you do that, you implement the solution, but you're evaluating, is it working? Is it something that is solving the problem? Did it create an unintentional problem? And if it is, and if you need to make adjustments, you make adjustments. And then you come back and reevaluate again. It's called the engineering design process. And I use it every day to solve problems. I also think too, I'm a systems thinker, and that's another thing too, is that, you have to rely, within engineering, you have to rely on multiple systems to solve a problem. And just as the mayor of the city, to solve some challenges, I may engage in multiple divisions. It could be, publicity person. It could be the DPW facilities. They may all need to work together to solve a particular problem. And that has had to happen. And that's one of the things is that, I have a pretty strong leadership team that, especially during COVID, there were times we were meeting 7 times a day, 7 times a week, excuse me. And that was valuable because we always knew what was happening within our system and where we need to shore up something within the system. If someone needed more help, for example, our library team, they were calling our older adults to make sure they were okay. They worked in collaboration with our senior center because of the bandwidth that the senior center had. They needed more man and women power to help make those phone calls, and that's where the library team stepped up to make that available. We had things translated so people had appropriate translation. These are the things that we had to think about when making these phone calls. So that's the kind of thing, the system thinking, the understanding too that, everybody has a role to play. Many hands make light work, and truly understanding that we do our success together is us working together. And oars are moving, it's sort of like rowing a boat. If you got one person rowing an oar forward and the other person rowing an oar backwards, that boat's going to go in circles. You need all the oars rowing in the same direction. And that is part of the system thinking that I employ on a regular basis. And to keep our city moving. So,
Thank you for that. So I know this isn't like popular topics to talk about, but what are some of the difficulties that you experience being A, the first mayor, B, the first Black female mayor, and what are the demographics of Framingham?
Well, I would say, first of all, I sort of hit it all out the park with one full swoop. The first woman, the first African American, and the first woman, the first mayor period. So with all three, I knocked it out of the park with one full swoop. And, as an African American woman, and certainly one that has had a wonderful career in non-traditional fields like science and engineering and technology, clearly a lot of my role models, have not necessarily looked like me. And that's something that has been the story of my career. But I also come back to becoming mayor. My community is, Framingham is about 70% white, about 15% Brazilian, and maybe about 5% African American. And maybe 2 or 3% Asian, and maybe the other percentage point Latino. And so that is a very interesting combination within my community. But I know that the majority of people that live here are white, and so that is also looking at who elected me to office. And so, and I say that speaks volumes about my community too, is that they saw what I could bring to this job, and voted me into this seat. And and I do believe that I've lived up to what I said I would do. I have honesty and integrity and not a politician. And I look at as my nieces would say, I have the receipts to prove what I've been able to accomplish over this period of time. And I'm pretty proud of where we are as a city, despite the pandemic. And the way in which we have continued to move the needle for Framingham, being able to do that as the mayor, and I want to be seen as the leader of this community. And my added cherry on this pie, because I'm female and I'm African American, but I don't lose sight of my gender nor my race in this work, because it is an element. It is something to pay attention to realize that it took until 2017, and when I was elected and inaugurated in 2018, to get an African American woman in the seat in the state of Massachusetts, which is a progressive state. Similar to the words of our Vice President, Kamala Harris, I may be the first, but I definitely don't want to be the last. So I make a point of inspiring young women and also women of color to know that no limitation should ever be placed on you, and don't place them on yourself, because the world is your oyster, and you have an opportunity to come to the table. And I'm as a mayor of the city, I'm going to make room at the table for others to be there, and other women and other women of color to be at the table.
Mm-hmm. So, very unorthodox question. So for me, you know how people watch trash TV, they watch their fun TV, and then they watch the garbage. And so my garbage is actually city hall hearings. And so I thoroughly enjoy the cattiness, the back of it. If you want drama and you're looking for entertainment, watch the hearings, the federal hearings, the state level hearings, city hall hearings are the best. And so as mayor, sitting on the other side of the city councilors, what advice would you publicly, because I know it probably would be very different in private, what public advice would you give to city councilors or the millions that are currently running for city council as far as continuation of partnership? Because again, watching some of the hearings, there's no partnership. Everybody's bumping heads. It's me against you. But the truth of the matter is we're all here for one thing, and that's our constituents. And if we can't get it right, we're failing those that elected us. We have problems here in the city of Boston. I'm not afraid to touch on these topics. What advice would you give? Because we have about 30,000 people running for city council right now. What does it look like to work with the mayor, and what advice would you give sitting in this hot seat and knowing how different it is from the councilor's position for here in Boston? From what I understand, you are involved in our politics as far as the knowledge is concerned. In order for us to work better together to get things done for the constituents.
You hit it on so many cylinders, because I think first and foremost, you have to keep the citizens front and center. And when I make decisions in my community, I always ask one question: how is this good for Framingham? What value does it bring for Framingham? And when I work with city councilors, I try to work from the same 5 pillars that I started this office, and thinking about, our transition to a city. How does this initiative help? When I think about economic development, education, preserving our open spaces, and investing in our people, those are the 5 pillars that I work on. And part of that is really having those conversations with city councilors. Sometimes I feel like there are some that I have a really good communication with, and we're on the same accord. And then there are those that we have some difficulties, which I'm always willing to work it through, because even when you disagree with someone, I think you can disagree without being disagreeable or disrespectful. And that's one of the things that I worry a lot about, public forums and politicizing issues that should not be politicized, as using it as political football. And really I think about how does it benefit the community. And when you're doing that, you are putting your political gains or your political aspirations aside for the betterment of the people. And I think I saw a lot more of that, especially during the heart of COVID, and when everyone's numbers were rising. I saw a lot more opportunities to collaborate and work together. But I also think too that we have to understand each other's roles and responsibilities. You know, the council plays a role, and their role is to create legislation, which is the ordinances that the mayor gets to implement. Now, part of the for creating these ordinances is having the conversation with the community, is having the conversation with the mayor to see where we can find common ground. And I think that becomes the most critical thing, is finding that common ground. I may not agree with these two things in this ordinance, but I agree with the rest of it. Okay, can we work on that together? Can we collaborate in a way that we can come to a consensus around things? And I think it's more so, rather than a contentious debate, we should be looking for those opportunities to find consensus. And I think when we think about that as leaders, and look at the responsibility and the trust that people are put in us, and live up to that, the better it will be. And then I think we can move beyond some of the politicizing and the drama and the grandstanding and all of the things that you see happen in these public forums that are unnecessary.
Okay, let's go back to your education experience and expertise, because you were an educator. You were an educator for 16 years, right?
Yes, I guess I was. I was in Framingham Public Schools for 16 years, but I did spend a few years in Newton Public Schools.
And so with all of this, I want to pivot, okay, because the Newton part I didn't read up on. And so what differences, or what major differences did you see from a Newton to a Framingham? And I don't know if there's really that many differences, because I feel like demographically, maybe Framingham and Newton might be similar. But going from the education space to a political space, what did you, or are you, or would you change as far as education is concerned, seeing it from an educator's perspective and understanding how policy works? First question, what differences are between Newton and Framingham, if any? And then two, what would you change on the education front, being now in politics?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I would say that I have enjoyed being in Framingham. I started my career here in Framingham as a classroom teacher, teaching middle school and technology education. And then I taught computers in another one of the middle schools. I taught computer programming, and then went on to the high school, where I spent the vast majority of my career here in Framingham. And so when I look at the educators I got a chance to work with, and the things I got a chance to be a part of, the initiatives I got a chance to be a part of while here in Framingham, that was wonderful. And subsequently going on to work at the Department of Ed for about 2 years, and then going on to Newton. And so at Newton, my job, I was the Director of Career and Technical Education. So I oversaw all of the vocational programs at Newton, which were at the high school, North High School, and at the New South, as well as the middle school. And one of the things I could clearly see that was different in Newton than in Framingham was some of the structures for teachers to better serve students in terms of teams and collaboration with teachers, what we call a professional learning community. That was a really big thing in Newton when I was there. And what I found was such a cadre of professionals that, and I think in both settings too, when you think about the business of teaching and what you have to know to prepare yourself to teach, and also the skill sets that teachers bring with them, it's quite phenomenal. And I think sometimes they certainly don't get the credit they always deserve in terms of the impact they have on their students. And that's one of the things too. I think no matter where you are as an educator, you want to make a difference in a child's life. And part of making that difference in a child's life is understanding that your role and your responsibility is to expose your children to as many things as possible to allow them to make good decisions for themselves and create that mechanism to do that. And I think that's one of the things I learned in Newton that was very much appreciated and also expected of you, is to collaborate with your colleagues, to work together to come up with good solutions to challenges. And that was something that was very much celebrated. And I think I felt like Newton gave me the ability to expand my vision and implement new ideas and new concepts in programming, which we were able to do, whether creating new programs. And Newton and I had that last year, and I think also that is indicative of the role that I had as an administrator. And so, when I think about kind of pivoting from education to a role in politics, quite frankly, I never really thought about a pathway in politics. What I saw was a need, and I saw a need in this role of being mayor and having someone wanting to step up to lead the city through its transition from a town to a city. And it was something, a role I wanted to play because I had just done something very similar when I worked at the Museum of Science. I was the Vice President of Advocacy and Educational Partnerships, which allowed me to build partnerships and programs across the country, STEM education. But I did this from the ground up. This division never existed in the Museum of Science. And just as being a city never existed here in Framingham. I knew I had 12 years of experience of taking an organization that initially was starting with some seed funding of about $5 million to over $50 million. And doing that in a way that broadened the horizon and the cachet and the presence of the Museum of Science, not just being a science center, but being a center of innovation and great ideas to be able to maximize that across the country. So that's where it kind of goes. You've laid the foundation. So I look at everything that I've done professionally as building blocks for what I do right now. And each one of those roles played a part in giving me some skill sets that I have in order to be the mayor of the city. So being an educator, I have always felt that it is indicative and imperative for me to continuously learn. And just as I do in this role, I continuously learn. I also continuously teach others. And that's been quite interesting to do. But I don't lose sight of my skill set learned as an educator in this role as the mayor. And I will continue to use those. The other thing too, as being an educator, you learn some things about listening to other people. You learn some things to be listening with empathy, to be able to solve problems in a way that people feel valued in the process. Those are the things that I certainly learn and I use on a regular basis as a teacher, to empower others. And that has to be a sort of the swan song I would have of the transition from education to politics, is that learn to empower others, because that only helps build your community and build the community in a way that is nurturing for everyone.
Okay, so I am in love with your education background. So I know she's the mayor of Framingham, but I want to just talk about education a little bit more. So we've come all the way to the top of the hour. So this is like lightning round really quickly. Dyslexia in education as far as not being properly diagnosed. Is that something that Framingham is taking a look at or making any alterations towards?
I think with any special need, dyslexia, autism, we have to look at it all, because once again, that is how all children feel like they can access knowledge in a way that it is appropriate for them. It's providing the appropriate tools to access knowledge.
Critical race theory. What is your take on critical race theory and the fact that the country is, mind you, the listeners are well aware that this has been a framework that has been in existence for over 30 years, but now all of a sudden is being reframed. So your take on it, your perspective, and if you can clarify a couple things that are misconceived in the public eye.
I think we have to know whence we've come before we can make any good decisions. And I think it's imperative that students have an opportunity to be given the information and given it in a way that's fair and balanced. And I can certainly say there are many things that I have learned in my later life that were not an integral part of my learning experience. And certainly some of the dynamics that happen, and particularly for African American people in this country. And when you hear the narratives that are sometimes being told, we have to acknowledge where we've come from, and it's not to make anyone feel less than, but it is also to give greater balance of where we are and where we are as a country, where we are as a society. And it also gives us opportunity to inform, enlighten, and empower all of our children once again. And I certainly am a believer in critical race theory, and I used it on my doctoral dissertation work, and really understanding some of those dynamics that impede growth and progress, and that leads to structural and institutional racism. And so, we can't keep hiding from it. We have to kind of take the veil off of it, and let's talk about it. Not to accuse, but to have a real critical dialogue that allows us to embrace all that we've experienced in this country. And until we do that, it's going to be difficult.
Dr. Yvonne Spicer, Mayor of Framingham. This conversation has led me to one of my favorite quotes that I would like to share. One of the penalties of refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. And that is from Plato. And I would love to hear one of your favorite quotes.
Oh my goodness, there's so many. There's so many. I tend to go to Maya Angelou when I feel that we just need guidance. And one of her quotes is, "We do better when we know better." And that's the thing that I think as a society, there's some things we didn't know, but we have an obligation once you do know to do that. And that also gives you grace that is realizing that, you know what, I probably would have done something different if I knew more information or I had greater facts. And it reminds me once again that knowledge is power. It is truly, truly power. And we'll all do better when we have access that knowledge.
I thank you so much for your time. I thank you for this interview. I would love to have you back after you get reelected, because I truly believe that you will. And I have to be honest, I am actually amazed that at 70% Caucasian, you won with more than 50% of the leading vote. So that is, I think it does speak to the progressiveness that Massachusetts touts that we are, though we see in other spaces, it doesn't necessarily represent the whole. And so I am so excited for you. I'm so thankful and proud. And I don't think you've remembered the times in which we have met, but you have a beautiful spirit and your soul is amazing. And I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tayla. I really appreciate that. And yes, from your list to God's ear, the election is happening. Primary is September 14th and general election is November 2nd. And I am up for the challenge. I love being the mayor of the city, and I will continue to fight for my city with honesty and integrity as I have one, and want to keep it moving.
I am TaylaAndre. Waking Up with TaylaAndre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Today was the day that the Lord has made. I am rejoiced and glad in it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. If you missed any part of today's show, you can head over to SparkFMOnline and look up all of the videos on YouTube. Keep it locked. Download the app. Share, like, subscribe with your friends. Everything TaylaAndre, TaylaAndre.com. Mwah. So we are no longer live. Thank you so much for your time today. I should thank you for your honesty. I have no idea how you were able to pull it off, but you did it and will do it again. And I hear so many amazing things about you.
It all comes from the heart, and that's the thing when you are speaking from the heart. It's real.